Most people don't misunderstand the art of war because it's complex. They misunderstand it because they never actually needed to read it. If you strip this book down to its core, what really matters fits into a small number of principles. Principles that explain how people in power think about decisions, risk, and conflict. So this is not a summary, and it's not motivation. The goal here is to extract how Sun Tzu actually thinks, so you can use his logic without spending weeks reading the book. That's also why this book still matters today. Not because it's ancient, but because it deals with decisions where being wrong is expensive. That's why executives, founders, and leaders keep coming back to it. And everything Sun Tzu says rests on one fundamental idea. He believed that the outcome of a conflict is decided before it ever begins. In his view, once you're already inside the conflict, the most important decisions have already been made. Either you calculated properly, or you didn't. This is where many people misunderstand the book. They think Sun Tzu is teaching clever tactics or deception. He's not. What he's really teaching is selection, whether a conflict should happen at all. Early in the book, Sun Tzu barely talks about fighting. Instead, he focuses on calculation, on comparing both sides objectively, on understanding real advantages and real constraints, on separating facts from confidence. For him, conflict isn't heroic, it's costly. And war is usually not a necessity. It's the result of poor preparation. If you don't clearly understand why you're entering, how you realistically win, and what winning will actually cost, then action isn't courage. It's blindness. You can see how this applies far beyond war. Imagine you're considering launching a new product line inside an existing company. In one scenario, before committing, you analyze internal capabilities. You study competitors. You model downside risk. You define exactly what success means. The numbers are clear. The advantage is real. From Sun Tzu's perspective, the decision is almost already made. You're not gambling. You're executing. Now compare that with a second scenario. There's pressure to act. Leadership wants momentum. The idea sounds promising. So you move forward, telling yourself you'll adjust once it's live. Sun Tzu wouldn't call that agility. He would say you entered a conflict without understanding the terrain. This leads to the most common mistake people make with this principle. They believe they are planning, but what they're really doing is hoping. Hope feels like confidence, but it isn't calculation. Planning reduces uncertainty. Hope simply tolerates it. And Sun Tzu's entire framework rejects hope as a strategy. That's why there's a simple question you can use to test yourself. If you had to commit to this decision tomorrow, could you clearly explain why it works without relying on optimism or assumptions? If you can't, then according to Sun Tzu, you're not ready to enter the conflict. There's also a very practical way to apply this. Before any high-stakes decision, force yourself to write down 3 things: your real advantage, your worst realistic outcome, and what would make this decision a mistake. If you can't do that clearly, delay action. In Sun Tzu's logic, waiting is often the stronger move. This single principle explains the mindset of the entire book. Strength isn't aggression. Confidence isn't speed. Real power comes from choosing the right conflicts and avoiding the wrong ones entirely. And once you see that, the next question becomes obvious. If brute force doesn't decide outcomes, what actually does? That's where Sun Tzu goes next, and that's what we'll break down in the following part.